think the skills that you have to have are fundamentally, yes, you have to have good storytelling skills. For me, I'm always drawn to performance. As an editor, you look at all the rushes, but quite often a director will think that the best take is possibly the last take of a slate or the penultimate take of a slate. I always look at the first one because I think actors give you something intuitively at the beginning, and the more they repeat it, they sometimes lose that first instinctive response to the moment. In terms of editing crime drama, I think, mostly we are trying to not let the audience know who did it. There's a skill in that you have to identify areas where you can focus on possible suspects but not give the game away. So that's slightly different to straight drama. I'm often asked, actually, why do I cut the way I cut, or when do you cut? When do you know when to cut? Often, well, in my case, it's just a purely instinctive response. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I guess the only way that I find that out is by passing it on to the next person for the director to look and have their comments on it, and then the producer, then the executive producer. It really is quite an instinctive thing, and I think the big thing to learn as an editor, particularly if you're starting out, is to trust your instincts. They are what makes you you as an editor. They are what you bring individually to that role. No one else has the same instincts. Whenever I'm starting a new job, if it's a series where I'm not the first editor on the job, it can be quite daunting to jump into a very well-oiled ship and be the new person. But the more preparation you do, the more you watch other people's work in the same series, the more prepared you are, and then you can bring in your own slight views and versions and takes on things, and your own influence on things. The most challenging thing overall is time. I think on TV schedules you're always against the clock, so you have to make decisions sometimes quite quickly. In today's budgets, there isn't time to go back and reshoot, so you have to look at the material, you have to alert people if there's something not quite working, if there's an opportunity for them to reshoot it within the same day or the following day. I think stamina actually sometimes as well is a challenge. We can all work far too many hours and not take a break. It's very easy to not do that, but it's important to step away just to give yourself some space from the material for a bit. When I'm cutting, I often do my first assemblies, then I'll leave them, and then early the next morning I'll look at them all again and just check that my decisions were right, particularly if I'd made some of the choices in the latter part of the day. I love working on Avid. It is my #1 tool of choice, always has been, and I love the simplicity of it. I love the fact that you can have so many soundtracks. I love the fact you can be as technical as you want with it or as simple as you want with it. Working sometimes with more than one camera is great. I'm a big fan of group clipping. And flipping on the timeline. I always get my assistants to group clip for me so that I can see simultaneously what's on the other cameras at any one time. Other favourite tools are locators. I am locator mad, markers mad. I organise a lot of my work by highlighting the scene number, marking moments of performance that I'm particularly drawn to, marking moments where I'm going to add special effects, or marking moments where music cues begin, and I export a lot of my markers as my sort of Bible for the various stages of post-production going forward. Other things that I love are animat. I work a lot on crime dramas where there are quite a lot of corpses, and actors have to lie very, very still to be a corpse, and obviously they can't do that for long periods of time, so you find yourself having to wipe around various bits to pretend that they are still. I love animat. It can wipe all sorts of things out of the frame that aren't meant to be there. I would say to anybody starting now, be as familiar as you can with the technology. Try and get into as many cutting rooms as you can. Always say yes to anything. It's about starting. Once you start, you have something concrete to show. It's about being easy to be in a room with. I think personalities are so important when you're starting off. If someone was trying to approach me now, I would say try and sit in my cutting room and observe how I work. Ask questions, but most of all, begin.